Your first dance will be your last. May 14th, 2021. I was asked to be the best man at a friend's wedding a good 12 or so years ago. He was an ex serviceman and she was his childhood sweetheart. I'd been friends with the groom for upwards of 20 years and known the bride for close to 10. They'd been together the better part of a decade and they always got along. So no one was surprised when they announced their wedding, and everyone expected things to go off without a hitch. Roll forward a couple months, the groom showed up at my place unannounced, and he stated, "The bride and I just had a huge argument." The groom was extremely upset, but after a couple of drinks, he laid out what had happened. He'd been happy to go along with all of the bride's plans with one exception. He didn't want to do the first dance. Why, you ask? He'd been discharged from the service due to losing a lower leg to an IED in the Middle East. He wasn't exactly fire on the dance floor to start with, and he was as graceful as a hippo now. He also hates doing things that draws attention to his disability, which is understandable. He was going along with a lot of the other things that he definitely didn't really want to do, and this was his one line in the sand. He stayed at my place that night, and the day after, we went back to his place as a duo, with me as moderator. We managed to work it out after a lengthy back and forth with a fair amount of shouting and tears. His bride finally agreed to no dance for his sake, and things moved on. Months later, the big day arrived, and it went off great. The weather was flawless. Everything came together great. We got through the ceremony, the meals, and the speeches, and it was on to the reception. It was almost 8 o'clock at night, and the cake cutting was set for 8 p.m. So I was gathering outliers back into the main room for that when I heard the DJ get on the mic. The DJ stated very loudly, "Okay, everybody, it's time for the newlyweds' first dance." I hurried into the room to find the bride center stage on the dance floor, staring down at the groom, who was the most enraged I had ever seen him. The bride states, "Come here, groom, it's dance time." What a bitch. He walked over to her, pulled off his wedding ring, and threw it in her face. Then he walked out, making the cut it off gesture to the DJ. He left everyone in shocked silence. And a few seconds later, I got my jaw up off the floor and followed him as the bride went into a meltdown where she stood. I found the groom stalking through the parking lot outside and had to physically grip him to get him to calm down. I got him at least calm enough to be lucid again when the bride's mother stomped around the corner and began screaming at him, which prompted him to go off again. I stated to his mother-in-law, "Hey, the bride promised him she wouldn't do this and embarrass him, and yet here we are." This shouting match went on for quite some time until eventually the groom said my name and said, "Get me out of here." I waved a taxi down and we bailed out back to my house so he could cool off. Early the next afternoon, the bride knocked on my door. She said, "I know my husband is in there." He responded from the background and told her to fuck off. She tried to push past me, but I blocked her. And I let her know, "Just to remind you, this is my house." She settled for screaming around me at him. He eventually got fed up and came and stood behind me and spelled it out in the kind of voice you can only manage when you're restraining unbearable rage. The groom stated, "You lied to me. You put me on the spot. You shattered my trust in you. How can I continue after that? If you're willing to lie about something like that, how can I trust you to do anything?" She tried to counter him, but ran out of steam as he kept going, and he ended by saying that he wanted the marriage annulled. She burst into tears and left. Gonna say this is kind of where karma smacked her right in the face immediately. She deserves this. The marriage was annulled not long after. Unsurprisingly, they don't keep in touch. The groom remarried 3 years ago with the same request, this time respectfully held by his new wife. The bride moved out of the area shortly after the marriage collapsed, and I've heard no news of her since. I will tell you that there's so much here that can unpack. Instant karma obviously smacked her. She thought she could put him in a spot where he wouldn't turn her down so she'd get her way. Yet she didn't register. The fact that he said, "I don't feel comfortable doing this." The fact that it even had to be an argument to be compromised on, and a compromise she never intended to follow through with, obviously showed he did the right thing. He had drawn a line in the sand. He kept the boundary there. And when she crossed it, he was out. She got exactly what she deserved. And I am so happy to hear that he found somebody else who could love and respect him.